Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a water change on my 20 gallon because it's been a week and I think it's time. I would usually do a water test right now, but since I don't have time-lapse photography and I don't want you to be here for an hour, I'm going to skip that. Otherwise, I would just do a nitrate test, but usually it's at about 5 or 10 after a week, so I'm going to do that right now. You can see my bucket and my hosing. What I have is a little air pump from a 1 gallon kit that I had a long time ago. So I just stick the airline hosing down the tubing that I use to siphon after I'm done, so that there's no water buildup and mold or mildew or anything inside the hose. So usually it's pretty dry by the time I have to do another water change. So this is just a 10 quart bucket. I calculated out the water conditioner because it's 10 quarts is about 2.5 gallons. Close my door. And then what I do is I take a piece of sponge. That's not the right piece. That's not the right piece either. I take a piece of sponge and I cut a little slit in the top and I put my hosing on that so my fish don't get sucked up, because one time one of my fish was swimming underneath and he got like stuck and I freaked out because I thought I was going to lose a fish. But I'm going to turn off my filter because I have a Penguin and it's super loud and it will stir up a lot of water if I leave it on. But I'm just going to take this sponge, squeeze out the air, otherwise it won't make a perfect siphon, and then stick the hose back in there. Put that down a little bit. I'm going to just close the top to keep the hose down. I'm going to siphon out, this whole bucket's full. That's about a quarter of this tank. Actually it's about an eighth. But since my stock is so low, I don't need to do a 25% water change because there's barely any fish. There's only like, what do you think? 8 fish in there, and they're all small tetras. So a 12% water change is enough. So it started to siphon. You can probably see the water in the tube a little bit. My Penguin siphon on the tube just ended, but that's okay because there's a pump anyway. And then I use Aquasafe, but I'm going to start using Prime soon. Once this runs out, there's, I don't know, maybe like a fifth of it left. And then I calculated out, since it needs 1 teaspoon, or 10 milliliters, 2 teaspoons for every 10 gallons. I calculated out that a fourth of 10 gallons would need half of a teaspoon. So this is a half a teaspoon measuring cup, measuring spoon, excuse me. Almost done filling. It's about up to there. Almost done. Okay, now I can take the tube out, take the sponge out, put it on top of my Sterilite drawers to dry for the next day, and I just kind of get all the water out and just set it down, because I'm going to put it back, coil it up into the bucket when I'm done. Okay, excuse me, I'm going to go dump this out. I'm going to bring you in here so I can show you how I fill my buckets. Okay, so I do this in my bathtub. If I had a water changer, I'd use that, but they're so expensive and I don't want to budget right now. But I just run the water and kind of get the feel of the temperature, because I know what temperature my tank has to be, and I know it by just touching it. But I'm going to run the water until the temperature is right, and then I'm going to stick the bucket underneath. So this is going to be kind of loud. Now I'm good. I don't fill my buckets all the way because otherwise I'm going to end up dripping on the floor on the way back to the tank. So let's take this back next to the tank, and that's when I'll dechlorinate it. My cat wants some water out of the tub. Make sure I don't spill on my way back in. I'm going to sit you back up here. Okay, now my bucket's right here, and then I have my conditioner and my measuring spoon. This is actually a little bit smaller than the one I need, so I'm going to do two of them. Be careful so you don't overflow. Stir it a little bit. Do one more. Just mix it in, make sure it gets dechlorinated good. Rid it of chlorine and chloramine. Put these back on my shelf. I just stick the spoon in the slat of the thing. Now I am really careful because I don't want to spill too much water, but I have to start out really slow because the pour spout on this bucket is really weird and it can overflow way too easy. And I can just gradually start tipping it more and more and pouring more water out as it gets farther over the tank. I'm going to stop right now with a little bit of water left in the bucket, because with my Penguin running, it has to go underneath the hood, and this is a full hood and has a special socket for the light. It like sits on there, and it has special little sides to it so it stays in one spot. So there's two lips on the underside where the area where the light is, so there's like a plastic piece all the way around the bottom where the light sits. So I'm going to turn my filter on and see how the water is being pushed, because if it gets stuck on the lip, then the water's not going to get distributed evenly. So I'm going to plug this in now. You're going to hear a little bit of gurgling probably. I'm just going to add a little Dixie cup of tank water to prime it a little bit. You should start seeing a little bit of agitation. Okay, now it's going. Now I'm going to add the rest of the water and make sure that the water is flowing well. That was a perfect amount of water. So the water's probably going to recede down a little bit below the plastic by the time I do a water change next, because you can't stop evaporation. But that's how I do water changes on my 20-gallon. So fish are nice and happy, less nitrates. Bamboo eats up like nothing. But that's how I do water changes. Thanks.